In The Remains of the Day, Anthony Hopkins delivers an incredibly nuanced performance as a butler who, however much he wants to be in denial to himself and others, begins to realize that in his lifelong service to a master who's later outed as a Nazi sympathizer, he has never truly lived a life of his own. That's not a spoiler. It's probably what you'll see on the back of the DVD cover, but it does make up the entire film. There are no last-minute twists. Instead, we are given the opportunity for 2 and a bit hours to look through a window on the outside of this large, cold and empty mansion that is the life of James Stephen. It's a terrific character study centered on a man who, in order to be the best in his profession, suppresses all emotion and dedicates all his energy to the man and the house he serves. It's a really sad story, because there's nothing worse than a missed opportunity, and this man's entire life is a missed opportunity. A fact he realizes only too late. Emma Thompson plays the housekeeper, and together she and we attempt to will Stevens to do something for himself for once, but he determinedly persists in his stubborn ways. The dialogue is superb, and the actors giving it do it justice through layered acting. There are tremendous scenes between the two leads, heated with boiling tension masked by civil politeness, as demanded by the environment that these two work in. It's a movie that showcases what happens to a man who does his very best, giving it his 100% but just does so to the wrong person. Stephen's unselfish devotion, unwavering loyalty and dignified service would be admirable in another situation, but here it is sad and almost pitiful. He even misses the opportunity to say his last goodbyes to his dying father, by choosing to ensure everything is in tip-top condition for some dinner for some posh people, an event which must have seemed more important to him at the time, and that's what's so sad about it. I also think he uses his role to suppress or hide behind his fears. I feel in a sense he was afraid of connecting to his father, a relationship which seemed a strained one, and he's afraid of reaching out to Emma Thompson's character. His failure to seize the moment is a lesson to all of us that sometimes you just have to go for it. Come on, Hannibal, just tell her you love her. The understated emotion that is the very heartbeat of the film will be lost on you if you're not paying proper attention, and it is a film that deserves your fullest attention. For starters, it's a beautiful movie. The Darlington Manor and the English countryside being a real visual treat. Hopkins goes above and beyond acting. Stevens is not a character, he is a man, a human being. Everyone else brings their A-game also, the cast including Hugh Grant and Christopher Reeve. There's 2 particular scenes that mirror each other to symbolize that Stevens is sleepwalking through his life, a fact that only a devastated Thompson sees. His father is weak and close to the end, and Stevens has to unstick his father's hands off an apparatus. Within a few days, his father is dead. Towards somewhere near the end of the film, Stevens has his hands clasped to a book, and it's Thompson who loosens his grip for him. It's a scene showing that he is dying inside, and this is his last chance to reach out. There are many scenes like this sprinkled throughout the film, like seeing Stephen's distaste at seeing butlers and maids run off with each other, an urge which he himself is later forced to confront and repress if he is to remain steadfast in his ultimately misguided loyalty. It's quite a funny film at times too, joys which are not shared with Stevens. Parts where characters are laughing and enjoying themselves with each other, making his tragic story all the more poignant. One of the smaller elements of the movie, the backdrop, concerns the British attitude to the growing power and influence of the Nazi Party and the way they approached it. It's a fascinating thing to eavesdrop in on, but unfortunately Stevens does not share our curiosity and instead turns a deaf ear to these high-profile meetings he serves tea and cake in, and we get limited opportunities for insight. The film is a rousing triumph in presenting an examination of a man's sense of devotion which transcends all other obligations and aspirations. Whilst we are unravelling the main character midway through the movie in a scene that is set many years ahead of the main bulk of the film, because a lot of the film is a kind of flashback, a minor character blurts out that Stephen's master turned out to be a Nazi. This reveal halfway through the film was fairly abrupt and could have been removed so we could gradually come to realise the true nature of Stephen's master. But the reality is that that's not the nature of the film itself. It's not going in that direction. And doing the whole, oh, your master is a Nazi thing, could possibly give the film a disjointed feel where the attention is taken away from Stevens, and instead the reveal allows us to approach the rest of the film, and in particular to examine Stevens' attitude and philosophy in a new light. In a way, Stephen's Master Darlington's arc mirrors his own. Both men exhibit ideal 20th century British values, honour and devotion to what is right, and both only realise too late that they poured their loyalty to the wrong parties. Literally. Emma Thompson's character does everything she can to draw some emotion from Stephens, to force him to make a move by making him jealous or just messing with him in some way. But she only succeeds in torturing the two of them further. There's one scene, the same one where she unclasps his fingers from the cup, where she intrudes in his private quarters, playfully inviting him to advance, removing the book he is reading, and it's revealed the book he was reading was just a love story. The two gaze into each other's eyes longingly. This is the moment. If something is going to happen, it's going to happen now. Like I previously said, this is his last chance. But then Stephens, very politely and without emotion, asks her to respect his privacy and leave him alone. His last chance, and he practically showed it the door. I heard that this film had a closing scene, scripted or filmed, but never put in the final cut, where Stephens breaks down in front of a complete stranger, realising that he has put so much effort into simply wasting his life away. I'm glad this wasn't in the movie, because it would have given the film and the character a climax, and serve as closure, giving the character a point of reflection. Denying Stephens this solidifies the film's sad and sympathetic nature, making Remains of the Day one of the top films of the 90s. This one gets an 8 out of 10 from me.